My partner says sorry, but they keep repeating the same hurtful behavior again and again.
Red. Because you are married, you are not two individuals anymore. You are one unit. You are a team. When it comes to money, people are like, they become a different person.
True.
They get triggered or they get a little anxious or they worry or whatever. But that's your partner.
How do we respectfully, carefully, but with boundaries, navigate that conversation with the extended family?
Whether people say right now is the right time, biological clock and all of that, in the end it's the decision of the couple. So always come from this approach that when you are discussing money, it is for your life together. You are on the same team.
We're in conversation with Shruti, who's dropping insights into how you should have self love for a better relationship with your partner. How you can manifest fulfillment, and definitely talking about money is supremely important. This is part two, and we are here in season two of the Relationship Edits. This is sponsored by Bharat Matrimony. My name is Dr. Aradata, and we are continuing our conversation on everything about love. You also told me you work with your partner, and he's from the same field, coaching, right? When two people work in the same field, is that synergy or does that happen to become a pain point? I'm asking especially because in today's corporate world, a lot of couples meet at the office. They work at the same offices or similar kind of roles, engineer, I'm married to a doctor. So likewise field. What are your thoughts?
So I feel that it's a big blessing if you are married to someone who's in the same field because they understand you much better on a deeper level. So otherwise in relationships it is a personal relationship. But now that you are also in our case we are literally professionally involved. So you understand that person on a professional level also, that how this person is at work. And then when you are doing it together, in our case we are all the time having conversations which are a mix of our personal and work. So we are never out of topics, we are never out of conversation, we are never out of there's no boredom between us because of this. So I genuinely feel it's a blessing if you are married to someone who is in the same kind of field. But there's a big but here,
Sure.
which is that if there is any kind of jealousy,
Yes.
that is a red flag in the relationship, because then you are not getting inspired from your partner. You are just trying to compete with your partner, which can never be healthy.
Absolutely. But how do you maintain boundaries in that case? Because if I'm always talking about work and my partner, business partner is my life partner, where do I set that healthy boundary between not carrying work home and work to home, vice versa?
So it is very simple. You need to have some relationship rules.
Okay.
Just like when you play a game, there are rules. It is easier for you to play it, right? Same way in relationship, like in our case also, we have rules. So one rule can be that when you are on the dinner table, no work talks.
Okay.
When you're going on a date, no work talks. When I'm having breakfast with you, no work talks. So just like that, you can create certain rules that when this happens, we are not talking work.
Good.
And at that time you can actually discuss emotional emotional balance between you two, like where are you these days, how are you feeling emotionally, or maybe you can plan a trip together. At that time you were discussing that. So there's so many other things to discuss when you are keeping your work off intentionally.
Fantastic. Shruti, why don't you tell us one solid rule that working couples who work together should follow at home?
So I feel that every couple who's working together should have certain rules, and according to that, you are not supposed to talk work during certain periods of time. Probably when you are having breakfast, or when after 7 o'clock you're not supposed to have, or in certain different areas in your house, like on your dining table, you're not allowed to talk work. Or when you are just sitting together and having a conversation, there's a no work rule, so don't talk work. So just like that, you can create a simple fun game between the two of you where you are not talking about work, and these are the rules that you have to follow.
We're now moving to our favorite segment, that is the red flag, green flag, and the beige flag game. It's very simple. You know, red flag behavior are things that we don't condone, we
Yeah.
don't like,
Yeah.
obviously. Green is, let's go, more please. But beige flag are just normal human quirks. things that we may do, and it's okay. It's nothing alarming. Accept it.
Okay.
So here you are.
Thank you. Yes.
This is going to be rapid fire. All right. We fight, but we repair quickly.
Green.
Why?
Because fighting is inevitable. Repair can be faster, which is exactly what I believe in.
Great. We fight, and I always initiate saying sorry.
Red.
For whom?
So it again, whoever is saying sorry, the point is that it's not possible that every time it's the same person's mistake. So ownership is good, but if it's only one person saying sorry, that in the end that person will feel like, what are you giving me? Like, how are you resolving the fight?
My partner says sorry, but they keep repeating the same hurtful behavior again and again.
Red. Again, because sorry makes no sense if you are not changing, if you are not improving, then keep your sorry with you.
My partner leaves socks and shoes at the entrance every day.
So I feel this can be worked on, so I'll give beige here because
Sounds like you do it. That's why you're
no,
laughing.
I don't do it. We both are clean freaks, but I still feel these are small things because of which couples tend to fight, but in the end, they are so solvable. People get triggered because something deep is going on with them, not because of the socks.
So wonderful. You said you both are clean freaks. What if one partner is a neat and clean freak and the other doesn't care too much about cleanliness?
So it's very simple. If you are a clean freak, don't expect your partner to also be a clean freak like you. So don't try to force him, convince him, push him to be how you are, or expect things from him because you do certain things. And if that partner, if at all you are asking that person to just clean the bed a little or don't create any chaos, and if that person does that, very important, appreciate. Because when that person does that particular thing, we think, oh, I told him and he did it, big deal.
Yeah.
But it is a big deal for him because he's not a clean freak like you.
That's true.
So
And
appreciate always.
I think when you motivate good behavior, it also gets reinforced over
Exactly.
and over again.
Exactly.
So maybe they'll do it the next time.
Exactly.
Themselves.
Exactly.
Don't need to be reminded.
Correct.
We check in emotionally, but we don't really talk all the time.
I think beige
Okay.
because again it's a lukewarm thing, nothing alarming, but at the same time to create a better bond you need to talk a lot.
Okay. Financial decisions are made by my partner without informing me.
Red flag because first of all that partner thinks that you are incapable of understanding finances. If you tell this that keep me out of it, then it's fine.
Okay.
But if that person assumes and keeps you out of it, then the other person feels that I'm not important in the relationship, which is not something a partner would like to feel.
How do we talk about money? Because again, one thing which we are not taught about as a child
Right.
is to openly talk about how much we earn, what we expect. CTAs are hidden. So if I want to have an honest communication with my partner about money, finances, budgeting,
Yeah.
how do I approach that?
So first thing is you need to understand that because you are married, you are not two individuals anymore. You are one unit. You are a team. After that, when you have babies also, you are taking care of the children as parents, not as two individuals or husband and wife. You are now parents, right? So from the very beginning of marriage, you are on the same team. So when you're on the same team, there has to be transparency.
Right.
You have to discuss, and maybe certain times the conversation is hard because, like you said, when it comes to money, people are like, they become a different person.
True.
They get triggered or they get a little anxious or they worry or whatever. But that's your partner. Understand where he's coming from, where she's coming from, and have certain difficult conversations as well. In our case, we actually took out an Excel sheet and wrote things down.
Okay.
So if that is required, do it. But it's a one-time thing. And the more you talk about money, the more comfortable you feel. And in the end, together you're building a life, not individually. So always keep that in mind, that it is not you against me. It is we creating a life together.
Fantastic. So joint account, individual accounts. What should people have?
Now it's very different for different couples. Depends. Like in our case, we are two businesses, so it's different. If you feel you want to have a joint account for the daily expenses, maybe rent or grocery or whatever, that's the best approach, I feel. And otherwise also, you need to have a discussion if the partner is comfortable. if there is a conflict in that conversation, there is always a solution where you can meet midway.
Okay.
So, like, take that approach that, okay, let's not listen to you, let's not listen to me, let's meet midway. So, like that, you can always find a solution. So, completely depends on the individual couple that if they want to keep a joint account or separate account. In the end, like I said, you are doing this together. So,
Fantastic.
that's the goal.
So remember, you're a team.
Yes.
It's not you versus them.
Yes.
It's both of you together, the us
Yes,
versus
yes.
any problem.
And I think they should talk in percentage.
Are relationships really 50-50?
No, not that. When you're talking money.
Okay.
So maybe the husband is earning more and the wife is not earning as much. So you can always discuss in percentage that 10% of yours and 20% of mine.
Fair.
Like that. Or 10-10, it's still, we'll give 10% both and this can be managed through this percentage. So like that, you can always have conversations.
That's such a nice way to talk in percentages without triggering the other
Exactly,
person.
exactly. But I still feel there should always be transparency. You shouldn't hide any of your expenses or your salary from your partner.
Fantastic. We haven't talked about children yet. Is that a red flag, green flag, or a beige flag? We're married, but not talked about children yet.
No, this is a big red. Where is red? This is a big red flag because when you marry someone, there is a certain goal that you have that, I want to spend my entire life with this person. But after a period of time, you feel the need of having one more person in your dynamic, which is the child. And that is how we're conditioned also. Like after marriage, you notice a lot of all the relatives, in fact, and even your in-laws and everyone, they start saying, "Bachcha kab kar rahe ho," right? So it is conditioned into our mind that after marriage, the next step is having a baby. So before marriage, you need to have this conversation. And after marriage, also, you need to continuously check on your partner, where are we on this topic? Like we also do that. So thankfully, we are always on the same page. But in a lot of cases, yes, the woman wants, maybe the husband is not ready. So in that case, again, meeting midway. Like the woman says, I want to have a baby. And the guy says, I don't want to have a baby. Then in this case, before marriage, if it's done, perfect. You will have an idea and you can always meet, after that, you can say that let's wait for 5 years and then we'll talk about this. Let's wait for 3 years at least and then we'll talk about this. But if there is like no harmony in this situation, then conflicts will arise, then fights will arise because the woman is constantly thinking of having a baby and the husband is constantly avoiding this topic, and then there is resentment in the situation, negativity, and in the end, then there is no happiness or fulfillment in the entire marriage. So this conversation is very, very important, I feel.
What about couples who are DINK, double income, no kids? How do they, in the Indian subcontinent context, where you said the relatives are more excited about people having children right after they've gotten married, what if somebody wants to communicate to their family that, both of us are on the same page? We do not wish to have children. How do we respectfully, carefully, but with boundaries, navigate that conversation with the extended family?
So, first of all, that is something which is very tricky to do because of the generation gap and your belief systems. So, you have a certain belief system about having a child that, okay, in our case, we don't feel we want to take that responsibility. We like our freedom and I don't want to have a kid. At least right now, I feel that way. So, probably with your parents, you can still make them understand. But with relatives, even if you try to explain it to them, they would still go back to square one and ask, "वो सब तो ठीक है, but why are you not having? This doesn't make any sense." So they will come with their own mindset and theories and thought patterns. So it is not important what they think or say to you. In the end, you have to carry a baby. You have to take responsibility. Should be your decision always. Whether people say right now is the right time, biological clock and all of that, in the end, it's the decision of the couple. So they need to think from their own mindset and belief system and not get influenced from the family members or their parents.
Shruti, how should a modern day age couple who both of them are earning maintain financial transparency in their relationship?
So I feel that as a couple, you always need to think that you are on the same team. So don't think it's my money, your money, it's our money. And together, you need to build that life through that money. And if you are having a conversation and it feels difficult, always talk in percentage. Like 10% you give, 5% I give. That's how we'll manage our daily expenditure. So if that is the way you approach money situations in relationships, it's very easy. It's not at all difficult.
Okay, so Shruti, how should couples, especially modern day couples where both of the partners are earning, maintain financial transparency?
So we need to understand that finance or money as a topic is very sensitive for everyone. Specifically when it comes to couples, relationships or marriages, they are very, very sensitive and they are feeling difficulty in discussing these topics as well. So always come from this approach that when you are discussing money, it is for your life together. You're on the same team. It is not me against you. It is not your money or my money. It is our money because that is helping you to build your life. If you're having difficulty discussing the numbers, talk in percentage. Simply say 5% of my income and 10% of your income we're going to use for our groceries. That's how simple and smart the discussion can be, and there won't be any triggers during the conversation.
Let's play this or that. The condition is you can't say both, right? The first question: what is more important in long, fulfilling relationships? Having same values or having same lifestyle?
This, the value thing, because I think if the value system is not matching, there cannot be a relationship. It will not sustain only.
And how can we explore our value system?
So you can discuss, like one of the value system that I have is about animal cruelty or about God. So I can discuss it with my partner that these are the important things that I really value. What are the things that you value in your life? And in the end, you'll be able to understand what kind of value system the person is bringing. So yes.
But what if we don't align? Where do we see eye to eye on topics around politics or around finance? We talked about childbirth, animal cruelty, like you're saying. How do we align?
So if there is a misalignment, you can actually not align. Because if there is a misalignment, you will always have some kind of judgment towards that person. Whether you're discussing or not, you will always think that, okay, this person believes this, they value this, but I am completely opposite to that. And you will always have that in your mind, running that in your mind, and because of which the relationship will not be healthy.
This or that, what is more important? Passion or stability in a long term relationship?
So in a long-term relationship, I feel that stability is more important because passion gives you the excitement in the relationship, but stability will help sustain the relationship.
Fantastic. Compliments versus acts of service. What's your love language?
My love language is compliments because I love compliments, and different people, different love languages. For someone, it is acts of service, then of course they will value that more. In my case, it is compliments.
This one, especially from the Gen Z population. What is more important, texting all day or one high quality conversation in the entire day?
High quality conversation, because if you are texting, the connection doesn't feel so real, and you're not able to understand the tone of the person or where they are coming from, how they are feeling, and you keep on assuming or analyzing the text. Instead of that, switch to the call and just make a better bond over the phone.
Great. What is more important, this or that? Independence versus togetherness?
Togetherness. Any day togetherness, because when you are just with yourself, you can only expand to an extent, but when there are two people, then the expansion is bigger, and whatever emotion you feel when you feel it with another person, specifically with whom you are in love with, the expansion is much bigger. When you're traveling with your partner, you feel much happier, you feel much more excited and joyful. So best way to live life is to have a very good companionship and an amazing relationship.
Privacy on social media versus putting it out there on social media. Differing digital privacy norms between couples. What are your thoughts?
So I feel it depends again on the couple. If one partner is uncomfortable, the other partner should understand and again post certain things which the other partner is okay with.
Okay.
He won't be 100% comfortable. But when if both the partners are okay, they want to post on social media, they enjoy it, not coming from the place of showing off, but from a place of inspiration, then please post, inspire people. They will look at it, they'll realize that okay, real love exists. This is a possibility for me as well. And in the end, you're just adding value or helping people by showing your life. So if that's the goal, please go ahead and post, but always keep your partner on the same page.
Sharing passwords of each other's phone, Instagram, social media versus privacy.
Sharing.
Okay.
Because the moment you are private about these things, your partner starts to doubt and they feel exclusive, whether you are doing it from a place of I like to be a private person, they will think that they are not part of your life, or maybe you're trying to hide something.
And finally, what is more important to you? Being understood versus being adored.
Being understood, because being adored comes from a place of vanity, and being understood comes from a place of emotional intelligence, which I feel all of us need.
Fantastic. I want to know, as a closing remark, which is your favorite relationship book that you want our viewers to read in their free time?
So, my favorite book is actually not technically a relationship book. It is The 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak. And it talks about different, not love languages, but it talks about love in a very different perspective. And once you understand love, I think you are much more evolved when you enter a relationship. So, that's something that I would recommend.
And if you're a movie buff, what is one romantic movie that you swear by?
So the Bollywood buff in me says DDLJ.
Oh.
But there is another really nice movie, The Vow, where the couple they are in a happy relationship, and then one of them has an accident, and after that she forgets everything. So the entire movie tries to make her fall in love with him again, and in the end they do.
How beautiful. Do you have any closing remarks or a love quote or a love advice, a solid one that you want to give to our audience?
So I just believe in one thing, that if you love something, just like if you love a flower, you will not pluck it, you will water it.
Correct.
So have that mindset. When you are loving someone, don't try to change that person. Don't try to have too many expectations, and don't try to trigger them, pluck things out of them that you want to experience. Simply let them be, water them, and grow with them.
So tell me, what is one misconception about relationships that you want to change in people's mind?
I feel that when it comes to relationship, people think that अपने आप चलता है. You don't have to put efforts. You don't have to work. Once you are in love, everything will be taken care of. But that is not how it works. You need to be very mindful, be very aware, be very conscious when you're in a relationship about how your partner is feeling, what are you bringing to the table, what is your value system, what is your emotional quotient with that person. So there are so many things that you have to take care of when it comes to a relationship. And just like you work, when you go to office, you work. Similarly, relationship is also like that. You have to work. You need to put efforts in order for it to grow, just like you grow a business.
Are there three small habits that can help couples stay emotionally connected?
So one habit is actually doing emotional check, and that can be done either in the night or in the morning at the breakfast table or while you are sleeping. Just ask your person, how are you doing emotionally right now, or how was your day? That's a very good emotional checkpoint. Second is, when you are actually having any kind of conflict or argument, just break the pattern and say, you know what, I am angry right now, and let me be. Let me just be angry. I don't want to have a conversation with you because it will just hurt you. So that's a very good, again, checkpoint while you're having an argument. And third could be, when you are just with yourself, you can journal and then discuss with your partner that, hey, I just journal how I'm feeling today or this entire week, how I felt. And the partner can do the same thing, and then you can discuss how your week was or how your day was based on that journaling.
How can I practice gratitude in a relationship towards my partner?
So that's a very brilliant question. I really deeply believe in gratitude. And I feel first thing that you need to do is constantly, all the time, say thank you to your partner. Every day, say thank you for choosing me. Every day, say thank you for loving me. Do this on a daily basis, and you'll start to see the difference in the relationship. And there's another way how you can heal the relationship by practicing gratitude on a sheet of paper. Write down why you are grateful for your partner or this relationship. And if there is any kind of negativity with your partner at that time, you'll see it healing after you do this activity.
Fantastic. With that, we round up our The Relationship Edit Season 2 episode with Shruti. What we learned was so insightful. We learned so much about self-love, how to value our relationship, how to keep it healthy and not become self-obsessed. Certainly some financial advice that we can all implement in our relationship, especially where both the couples are working. And to round up, how to manifest a happier, more fulfilling life. Thank you. My name is Dr. Adatta, signing off.